Hi, welcome to Muster America. I'm John Blanchard. Eric Baylor is off this week. He's in Washington, D.C. for one of our Liberating Solutions contracts. A remarkable thing has happened this week. Our avant-garde company, Vettex, which is a transportation company, we've had 5 trucks on the road for quite a while. But this week, one of NASA Ed Project Fresh Start participants has completed the program and is behind the wheel of a truck. You might have seen the press release. It is a huge, huge undertaking, running a CDL course, the training for driving the trucks, along with the Project Fresh Start. We're taking homeless, disabled, disadvantaged, and otherwise displaced veterans and getting them back into the mainstream. Well, this individual came into our program, completed the CDL training, got his life back together, and he's out on the road moving America. Also this week, we had the opportunity to go to the McHenry County Government Center and visit with State's Attorney Louis Bianchi. He and a member of his team, Dimitri, we talked about several of the issues that are part of the State's Attorney's Office in McHenry County, but also some of the great undertakings that he's been part of and some of his plans in the upcoming years. So let's take a look at McHenry County State's Attorney Louis Bianchi.
Hi, John Blanchard, Muster America. I'm in McHenry County Government Center with State's Attorney Louis Bianchi and Assistant State's Attorney Chili Migras. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time on this Friday afternoon. One of the things that our viewers, the Muster America viewers, which are mostly veterans, has an interest in your mental health court. That's an accomplishment that you've created, you've done here in McHenry County, and through that success, the county has greatly been affected. Could you explain, first of all, what the mental health court came about for?
Well, it really started when I was campaigning about 6 years ago. We were getting telephone calls at our home about families that had children or brothers and sisters and even parents that had mental illness. And it became real apparent, actually I realized it as a lawyer, but it was real apparent because people were reaching out, knowing that I was campaigning, wanted to do something to save their loved ones. Mental illness is, in my opinion, the most overlooked, understated, and unrecognized issue in the country. And it became apparent, people said, well, you're going to be the state's attorney, you can do something at least with those individuals who are suffering from mental illness that aren't really criminals. And you'll be able to reach out to them because they'll be under the roof of the courthouse. And that's really where it started, at least the notion. And my wife got real involved as well.
The wives do that.
Yeah, in fact, when we brought this issue to the county board and to the judges, everybody really embraced it. And my wife was real instrumental in making sure that we had these meetings, and task force came about, and she would attend the meetings with me and help coordinate it at first to make sure that, because it was a big group, we had all the social service agencies there and the probation and court services, and the judges were there and the lawyers were there, and so she was very instrumental.
It's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
The goals of the mental health court, explain that first, Dimitri, if you would. What it's supposed to accomplish.
Basically, we have 3 main goals in regards to our mental health court. The first goal is to reduce the criminal activity by these individuals with mental illnesses. The second goal is to get them on the treatment that they need. And then the third goal is to make them stable members in our society. And those are 3 very important goals. And we've been with this court for approximately a little over a year, and we're seeing results, and we're achieving those goals, and it's very encouraging.
So not everybody needs to be incarcerated for infractions. That's wonderful. I'll talk about that with your future plans also. But for your mental health court, what qualifies an individual who may have been brought in by law enforcement?
The first and most important factor is that it's a voluntary program. The individual with the mental illness needs to be cooperative and want to be in the program. So it's not a forced situation like a commitment hearing. this is something that they want to do and they want to be a part of. The second criteria is that they need to be a resident of McHenry County. It has to be a nonviolent crime. It cannot be a sex crime. It could not be any kind of violent crime, and it cannot be DUI or driving under the influence of alcohol. And the individuals have to be 17 years old or older to qualify for this program. So those are the criterias, and it's a good alternative for these individuals because it is an alternative to the standard way of dealing with individuals who can do criminal activity.
Now, in order to qualify under the having a mental health issue, is that a court-appointed doctor or nurse that decides that, or is it a pre-diagnosis that decides the mental health part of the qualification?
Well, after a referral has been accepted by our office, it goes to the mental health court team, which consists of the judge, Judge Weech, we have a probation officer on staff, we have a registered nurse, we have someone from court services, and a coordinator, and then obviously the state's attorney's office and the defense attorney. An order is entered, it's called an assessment order, and that's the assessment where doctors will evaluate the situation and see if they have a mental illness and whether it's an Axis I mental illness, and that's how they are considered to be qualified for this program. So there is a team that analyzes the individual, analyzes their situation, and determines whether they have a mental illness and if that mental illness qualifies for the program.
The reason that's such a concern for the veterans organizations is if, depending on how this election goes, and all of these troops come back, over 700,000 of them come back, certainly not to McHenry County, but 700,000 of them coming back, they all will, it's inevitable, they will have some PTSD issues. Several of them will have traumatic brain injuries that they are now up and walking around in communities again. But they aren't going to be the same as they were when they left. And they all come back. The VA funding has not been very successful. Can't get enough of these people in, but that many of them being dumped back into the streets is going to have an impact. So PTSD, traumatic brain injury, things like that, they could also qualify if there's a trespassing or nonviolent, the qualifying ones.
That is correct.
Is McHenry County the only county doing this? You know?
The movement across the country is for mental health courts. In fact, we received a lot of information from the federal government in terms of how to set up a court and how to go about it, how to get funding, and it was very helpful in us starting our courts. So there's a movement across the country to specialize in several different courts, domestic violence court, for example, drug court, and mental health court. I'd like to add one thing also. It was an easy sell, so to speak, because the federal government provided us with statistics that it's much cheaper, even though it sounds complex because we have to have a probation officer, a nurse, and a clinician, and a judge has got to separate his time. It sounds like it's very expensive, and it looks like it's very expensive, but statistically, they have proven that it's cheaper than people going through like a revolving door in and out of the jail because it's so expensive to house people in the jail. And they don't really belong there. So it was easy to sell the county board on the concept.